Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today, I am celebrating the anniversary of Ellen Corby's birthday, June 3rd. So sit back, relax, and let's celebrate Ellen. I've spoken quite a bit about Ellen over the years. I have been doing these behind the scenes, and so you've probably heard a fair bit about her career and her life and getting started as a script supervisor in early television, working on things like Laurel and Hardy and The Little Rascals and stuff like that. And some stories she used to share with us on the set, none of which I remember now, other than her attention to detail in scenes and her ability to understand the need for matching movement for editing purposes and stuff, and how much Cammie's talked about her coaching her, and because she sat next to her at the dinner table, and that she'd keep track of her to make sure that what Cammie was doing was always on track. Recently, I sat down and watched I Remember Mama, for which, of course, Ellen was nominated for Best Supporting Actress Oscar. And I believe she was also nominated for a Golden Globe, which she won for that role. So I thought, I must see this. It was amazing to me. I've never actually seen the movie. And of course, her love interest in that was Edgar Bergen, who went on to play her husband in The Homecoming, as the two of them represented Grandma and Grandpa Walton in The Homecoming. So it was when I first met both of them. So to look back at the two of them together in this early movie was quite a treat. Of course, in that movie, Ellen played Aunt Trina, and Edgar Bergen played her beau, Mr. Torkelson, who ran the funeral parlor. So there was some question about whether the family was going to get behind that, because they looked down on him because of his profession. But Aunt Trina said that she loved him. And so that was enough for her niece to support the marriage. And ultimately, she did get to marry him. And there's a couple really lovely scenes at the end that particularly touched me at their wedding, where she looks so incredibly happy. And then there's some scenes with some, just beautiful close-ups where her expression, she just exudes so much love and joy that just so genuine and lighting up the screen in that way. So I can understand why she was honored with those nominations. In the movie I Remember Mama, she played quite a timid character. And I thought it was interesting because then also in It's a Wonderful Life, she also played a very sort of timid, mousy character in her little scene, her little cameo piece there with Jimmy Stewart in the bank when she tells him how much money she needs right then. But even then, she had this just smile that when she smiled, that would just light up the screen, and it was so captivating. And we saw that at times with Esther Walton, at times when she was really pleased about something, and she sort of allowed herself to display that sort of simple joy. She did it at times, like when she went with John Boy. I believe it was in The Bequest, when she went to the college with him to look it over as a possibility of him going there. And she was so proud of him. And so she just looked so full of joy then. And, certainly many times over the course of the series, we think of her as Grandma being very stern and very disapproving, but she certainly managed to have those moments where there'd be that smile or even a little giggle, and I'll never forget her adorable little giggle. Of course, she went on to play some other types of characters. Many of you had pointed out that sort of strong, crafty characters, like in the Andy Griffith Show when she was the head of a car theft ring, like that kind of bilks Barney Fife into buying a lemon of a car.
How'd you do, mate? Unloaded another one, Jake. 300 easy clams from the sucker of the world.
Then in I Love Lucy, I remember seeing her in that before I ever did the Waltons. I loved I Love Lucy, and so many people had cameos on that show, and she played Miss Hannah there. Or how about playing Lurch's mother in The Addams Family? I mean, that's quite a scope and range of work that she did. So, and then she had a recurring role in the TV show Please Don't Eat the Daisies. And I remember when I was talking with David Doremus, he talked about when he was doing Nanny and the Professor, that Ellen Corby did a little cameo role on that. And when he came on to do the Waltons, he went, wait a minute, that's Ellen Corby. So so many people had the pleasure of getting to work with her over the course of her career. Recently, when I connected with Mary McDonough to talk about various different things, she shared some of her thoughts and memories about Ellen Corby.
So Ellen's birthday, my special thing about Ellen's birthday is that it's a couple of days before my daughter Sydney's birthday. Uh-huh. So when I had Sydney, really right after I had her, I took her to meet Ellen. Mm. And she was just this big, because Ellen and I would go have lunch for her birthday every year. Mm. And I would travel over and go, and we would go to her favorite restaurant. And she would talk about being a Gemini. And when Sydney was born, she said, oh, so good. She's a Gemini. And we have our birthdays together. So then every year I took Sydney to have lunch with Ellen. Mm. And they would have their birthday lunch.
That's so sweet.
So, yeah. And so that was always really special.
As far as our time together on the Waltons, I always felt very close to Ellen. And some of the standout episodes for me, what I remember is that as Grandma, she was strong-willed. She could be cranky. She was disapproving, bossy, stubborn, a lot of the things that were also characteristics of Mary Ellen. But we did get to see her vulnerability at times and her insecurities, her loyalty and love, and how proud she was of her family, of Zeb, of John, and of her grandchildren. So many opportunities. And her sense of humor, there were times where even though she might be disapproving of things, there were the way in which she delivered stuff, she would just totally have me laughing. I loved in the quilting, the scenes that I got to do with her, although we were battling each other throughout, that as so often in the Waltons, the final resolution when I sit down to join, when John Boy convinces me that I need to attend this quilting, and I sit down next to Grandma and she gives me this beautiful, gift for my quilting that just overwhelms Mary Ellen. I mean, it's a lovely, lovely moment. And then in the vigil, after fearing that misdiagnosing her appendicitis as like a stomach bug or something like that, and feeling the weight of nearly, causing her death because of this horrible mistake I made, that she forgives Mary Ellen and that she actually takes the blame for it. And in understanding how difficult it is for Mary Ellen to deal with the guilt of that, and that she takes that from her. I wouldn't say that in playing that scene as Mary Ellen that I felt that that I, as Mary Ellen, would ever be able to totally let go of that sense of guilt, but it was certainly helpful and heart-melting to hear Grandma forgive me in that sense. In Grandma Comes Home, I love the introduction of Grandma to John Curtis. This is her first grandchild, and she's getting to meet him. And so being there to make that introduction between, great grandmother and great grandson is a very special moment, I think. Portraying Esther Walton, Ellen won 3 Emmy Awards for Best Supporting Actress and 1 Golden Globe Award. For the Waltons, she also created 2 of the stories. She had a story by credit for 2 Walton episodes, The Separation and The Search. So multi-talented. And of course, she wrote books as well. So she just never stopped being productive throughout her entire life. Other interesting notes about Ellen's life. She was trained in India to become a teacher of transcendental meditation. And in an LA Times comment that was posted April 28th, 1999, on an article about Ellen's death, this was in regards to her obituary of April 17th. Someone posted, in late 1969, Ellen Corby and I, along with 120 others, spent some months in the jungles of the Himalayan foothills in India, becoming teachers of transcendental meditation. She inspired me with her profound spirit and mental clarity. So a little side note about something about Ellen. She also traveled quite extensively and had a lot of wonderful adventures. Some of you may have seen one of her appearances on Johnny Carson, where she shares a very funny story about her travels and someone picking her up in a vehicle. She thought it was a taxi or something that she had ordered, and turned out that it was just someone whose car she got into who ended up taking her where she wanted to go. So she was quite intrepid as a traveler. She worked with legends in Hollywood, just absolute legends like Alfred Hitchcock, James Stewart, Irene Dunne, Lucille Ball, Doris Day, Audrey Hepburn, William Holden, Humphrey Bogart, Bette Davis. Just a tremendous, tremendous career. Please join me in wishing Ellen Corby a very heavenly, happy birthday. And thank you for being here to help me celebrate Ellen on the anniversary of her birthday. If you enjoy these segments, please do hit like and subscribe. I will see you next time for more behind the scenes of the Waltons and more of your questions in an Ask Judy. And I have some more special guests coming up, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks for watching.